Welcome to the Own Your Best Life podcast. I'm May Emson, your host, leadership and mindset coach. Here, we talk all things spiritual, mindset, business, leadership, and wellness for the modern seeker who wants to align their life with purpose and inspiration. We'll cover career changes, stress management, meditation, energy, intuition, and more. Each episode holds spiritual and practical tools to help you live a life of your wildest dreams without getting burnt out along the way. Ready to live a life on your own terms? This is the Own Your Best Life podcast. Welcome to episode number 157. So do you know what your dream job is? Do you have an idea of what it would look like for you to do what you love for work? And maybe you're already doing it. Maybe you have created something amazing for yourself and you're doing it already. And maybe you realize that you could have even more of what you want now that that's happened, or maybe you want to help and figure out how to keep doing this, maybe for yourself or other people. So if that's the case, then today's episode is for you. We will cover a simple strategy that will lead you to getting paid and enjoying your work too. And it's a few different ideas, but what you'll notice is it's all about moving forward. I'm going to start first with this idea about clarity. Work doesn't have to solely be a source of stress. I want you to be able to be in your current work situation and see it with a bit more neutrality. And that's one of the first things I do with my clients is really work on that emotional fortitude. When you can get comfortable talking and thinking about the discomfort you currently have in your work situation, now it's easier for us to make decisions. We have to acknowledge that feeling of not realizing our full potential, or even sometimes that shame that comes up around feeling like you should be happy about what you have when you're not. And this is so important because often we bypass all these parts of ourselves when they are actually really vital for us to understand why you are where you are today. So instead of seeing these embarrassed or shameful thoughts as something we want to fix or something to get rid of and things that have gone wrong in your past and in your life, we understand them. That same part of you that has fears of losing something really important is also a part of you that is making decisions about what you want tomorrow. And when we get that type of clarity into what we actually fear and what we're worried about, we're going to see our choices. You can see through the way that you're currently working today, the things that you value. So you are likely making choices right now about exactly what you have in your life today. And much of it is rooted in a sense of fear. And we often think that fear is wrong, but fear is what drives us towards stability. It's what drives us towards safety. It's what drives us towards certainty. And we want a healthy sense of fear, but we also want a healthy sense of acknowledging how much fear will always be present in our lives, no matter how much money we have, no matter how stable, quote unquote, we think our job situation or our life situation or our money situation is. And realizing that that fear will never completely go away. So if we can get really clear and really strong on what you're choosing now for work and why, we can actually figure out what you want next and then how to get there. And one of the biggest things that actually holds us back is thinking we have to take these big leaps today, whether you feel like you're making enough money or you're actually enjoying your work, or maybe you feel disengaged and you want to make more money. You don't always have to make these huge, drastic changes to have what you desire tomorrow. Simple, incremental moves is all it really takes. When you do these incremental moves day after day, they add up to what looks like big changes years from now. And these are likely things that you can do today. There are simple moves that you can do right now that will get you closer to your dream job tomorrow. And we don't want to use that word dream against ourselves. So dream jobs tend to have a bit of that aspirational aspect. The idea of it even being a dream sometimes will create this bit of a disbelief of whether or not it's actually possible. So this feeling that there is this big gap between here and there doesn't always help, especially when we think that big gap is this big change. And when we think about big changes, we think that there's so much to lose. And then we think we don't want to make any changes, so then we just stop. Yet dream jobs are simpler than we realize. The people that get their dream jobs again and again and again, think of it this way. It's simpler than you think of it as. So if you're thinking it's overtly complicated, it's so hard to get, then that is what will happen. You will feel that it's so complicated, you might as well not try. Yet what they often are a reasonable combination of income, the type of work that you're doing, lifestyle, work environment, community, people. And the only thing that makes it aspirational is we just don't have it yet. And we're talking about a few tweaks, few, not hundreds of tweaks, but a few tweaks that would help you get and move towards it. It helps you create the vision of that dream job. These tweaks help you map out what you want next. And these tweaks will help you start to make and start to take some more decisive actions. And maybe you want an entirely different work environment. You might want to work from home more. And right now you are going in every single day, or maybe it's vice versa, but you don't know where or how to get started. I work with you to actually map out a path that makes sense based on where you are now. And this path is entirely simple and doable. It's your own personal strategy map for your own career based on your interests and your desires and what's available to you. And it allows you to achieve more than you realize is possible because it's not about a very linear path that everyone else has taken. It's about taking an obvious path, but it will be a different path. It will be your own path. And when you make small changes, each of them will move you forward. So you can notice this continuity and this pattern that I keep talking about is moving forward. And so as you start to think about this idea of a dream work situation, a dream job situation, you can apply this to a dream life situation that you have. I want you to also consider creating options for yourself. I also am going to share with you this idea of sunk cost fallacy. So if you're not familiar already with this, when you stick with something that you've invested time or effort or money into, even though the current costs are outweighing the current benefits, that is the definition of sunk cost fallacy. And the reason you might be engaging in this kind of behavior, which is a suboptimal decision-making behavior, is the same reason people keep gambling after they lose money, right? They keep wanting to put more money in because they think, well, I've already lost so much. Maybe on the next one, I'm going to get it all back. And it's really hard for us as humans to leave something, even if it's not great. So I have done this myself before. I've held on and been in situations because the fear of the unknown is often greater than the fear of the known. So even if it is something that's not so great, like you have a work situation that you don't love, but you know it, you're usually more likely to stay there versus an unknown situation. And I've heard this so many times as we talk about career changes, because so many people always say, is it going to be better? Is it going to be better? And there are ways to make sure that it will be better. It's not always unequivocally better. But there are ways to actually make sure that you're making smart moves and you're not just, throwing all of your experience away and completely doing something that isn't going to be what you desire. So as you start to think through this, I want you to consider that you can actually combat that sunk cost fallacy. You can actually do this through finding more options now, creating the emotional strength to detach yourself from your past. So it's not just going and finding a job. You have to be able to say, okay, who was I that was doing that kind of work in this way? How do I not be that same kind of person and just take it into my next job? When I thought about creating a coaching business, I knew that it wasn't a solve for my workaholic and burnout tendencies. I knew that I had to solve those things regardless of where I was working and what I was doing, because you can have a certain context and a certain boss in a certain situation, perhaps that creates a nice place for you to work or creates this amazing situation that is great. But what happens when that boss changes? What happens when the situation and the circumstances are no longer the same? You then have to be the common denominator. You have to have the skills and capabilities of being able to be the person you want to be that can create the work situation you want. Otherwise, you're always going to be looking for that perfect unicorn job. And that's where people get stuck. They think there's some perfect unicorn job out there that they will not be able to find. And that's actually probably more true. It's harder to find this really small, made up thing that you've decided is only going to be there in 0.0001% of situations. Really, what is going to create the dream job is you and your own combination of creating this mental and emotional strength and skill building to create the kind of work with the kind of environment, to ask for the things you need, to not be afraid of failing towards the things that you want, such as better work-life balance or more impact or the kind of scope that you would desire or the work environment that you really want to be in. So this is why it's so important to get coaching as you make career transitions so that you don't end up with this sense of taking yourself everywhere you go, but not in the best possible way. So you are going to feel that feeling of, I am worried about taking a big loss. And what I would always encourage people to do is to actually have a backup plan so that you're mentally getting stronger, you're mentally training yourself to not just be whatever you've done in the past, but you're also strategically, tangibly creating options for yourself that look better than what you have today. So yes, you have invested time, you've invested energy, you've invested money into your current career, but you do have a very long life ahead of you. And if the current costs outweigh the benefits, the thing to do is to take a break, a line in the sand, and only consider the future. Right now, if you wouldn't choose the job that you have now all over again right now, then this is a strong indication that this is not a situation where you are making healthy decisions. This is likely you being in that sunk cost fallacy. It's a strong indication that in this case that you are throwing good money after bad, right? In terms of that gambling type of analogy. And so this is why I help my clients actually create backup plans as well as build that emotional fortitude and the skills so that they can have options and have a healthy sense of detachment from their work so they can make better decisions about their work. This is a really good thought process that you can take to almost anything you do. Would you hire yourself today as an employee, as a partner, as a father, as a mother, as a brother, as a daughter, as a human who is in partnership with other humans? And if the case is no, if I wouldn't choose me, then we likely have something we already know that we could do differently. And it's probably available to us right now. So, in all aspects of our lives, we're always trying to break some of these habits that we've built, habits of thinking, habits of being that don't necessarily serve us. And it doesn't mean we throw it all away, but it allows us to just examine it and to be a little bit more intentional so that we can give space to why we actually think this isn't important anymore, or why we wouldn't make those choices today. What choices would we make from here on out? If you could choose all over again right now, what would you choose? So when you have that kind of thinking, that's how you can continue to move forward towards what you want. It is this mentality of progress over perfection. Many of us think there is this dream job that only exists in this one special circumstance. And if I don't get that one thing, I might as well not make a change. But if you had a very strong sense of calmness, that of course you're going to have a better and better work situation that accommodates the types of thinking that you want to have, the kind of work that you would like to do. And you have a sense of calmness about it and a sense of knowing and a sense of neutrality, you would just keep moving. You wouldn't have fear or panic in that whole decision making process driving the decision. You might feel it, you might notice it, but it wouldn't be driving the decision. Moving towards what you desire might look like taking roles or situations that you may not have looked at in the past. But when you're able to see it objectively, you might actually see, oh, this thing I haven't even considered actually ticks all the check boxes for you. And that's what happened to me as well. When I was making career changes, I originally thought it's this or bust. It's that or bust. It's management consulting or bust. It's, training or bust. But when you actually look at the real world, there's so many nuances of every single role that you can imagine. When you think about staying at home and not working, there are so many variations to how you make that work. There are ways to do part-time work that are so different. One job title can look very different in actuality in terms of the actual work and the way the person works and what they get paid and how they get compensated and who they work with and the environment that they're in than another person with the same exact job title. And so if you're able to strip away maybe what your preconceived notions are and just open yourself up more, you're going to see that there's infinite possibilities available to you. And you can just be that calm and collected self, even if you have all the fear bells ringing and the panic buttons close by. They might be along for the ride, but you also have that part of you now, right? That you build up that detaches itself a little bit more from this work identity and can see it a little bit more objectively as a choice you're making. So it is available to you, right? These dream jobs are available to you. I want to encourage you to notice that even though they might look like sometimes these big decisive actions you have to take to move towards them, most of the time it actually looks like small and steady steps, things that people may not even see until it's done. I want you to notice this. So many times when I've arrived, quote unquote, into a situation where people are like, congratulations, good job. There were so many little steps behind the scene that no one saw. They didn't see what was in your brain. They didn't see the thoughts and the decisions that you're making on the day to day to correct something that you know that you've been habitually doing, to talk to yourself differently so that you're not so self-critical, to encourage yourself to keep going, to say yes to something that might not have seemed that interesting to you in the past, or to say no to something that you would have done in the past but no longer serves you. So I encourage you to stick to those small, steady steps, and you will, before you know it, be there. And either way, when you're just open to talking about what you want and what you don't want, you start to realize that the dream jobs are closer than you realize. You start to create them even from your words, because as you start to speak them out loud, your brain is getting more clear and more clear. So I encourage you to have conversations, to talk to people about what it is you want, what you're thinking about, and why. And you don't need to be set up with the best work experience or the best network. You just need to be willing to start making some small changes today. So if you like that blend of practical work and mindset work, I encourage you to reach out and schedule a coaching consultation at www.mayemson.com/contact. If you're looking to make some changes and you want a thought partner by your side, I am here for you. You can learn more about what it looks like to work together and the joining of the community of like-minded achievers who are looking to do similar things. You will expand your vision for what's possible, get more clarity, create a plan, and have a thought partner that helps you evaluate the plan and figure out what your next steps are. It will be 12 months of support, guidance, and community. So we will help you boost your confidence, trust your intuition so that you make decisions that you love. And I've also created a free masterclass. So if you're ready to figure out what's next, you want to join in and listen to and watch the most recent masterclass called Figuring Out What's Next. You can go to the link in the show notes to learn the 3 phases of where you're at in your career and life crossroads and what you want to do in each phase. All right, my friends, that is it for this week. I hope you have an amazing one, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Own Your Best Life. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, can you please rate and review on iTunes? I would so appreciate it. Share it with a friend, take a screenshot of it, and tag @MayEmson. This helps continue to get the word out. For more show notes and resources, check out www.mayemson.com. You'll have all the links to everything you heard here today. Thanks so much for listening. It's time to own your best life.